The socialist author Grace Blakeley and Labour's Lisa Nandy were both on Question Time this week, and it got pretty tense. To kick off the row in a conversation about Natalie Elphicke joining the Labour Party, Grace brought up broader issues about trust in politics.
I think it speaks to the point that the lady made about, can we really trust politicians? I think this actually sits at the core of our democracy right now. Trust in political parties is at all-time lows because people see politicians making promises and then going into Westminster and saying, oh, it's actually too difficult, there's no money left, we can't do any of the things that we promised you. And it's, I think, a really cynical move on the part of our politicians just to say, you know, that we couldn't possibly fulfill these promises that we've been making to people. Even more cynical not to even make the promises in the first place, as I think Keir Starmer is failing to do, because you basically say either there's not enough money left to fix the NHS or I'm going to encounter too much opposition, I can't possibly do anything. We have gone through in this parliament, this has been the first parliament in modern history where living standards have fallen. And that comes on the back of the longest period of wage stagnation since the 1800s. People are desperate for change. And if politicians don't deliver that, I'm worried about the future for our democracy.
She got a big round of applause for that. So that really went down well in the room. Lisa Nandy, though, wasn't impressed. This is how she responded.
And I'm afraid I won't take any lectures from Grace, who was a champion for a manifesto that was fundamentally dishonest at the last election. We had one party going into it saying we can do everything. We can spend all the money in the world and we can deliver absolutely everything, knowing full well that they couldn't. And we had another political party. Lisa? Sorry, Grace, you had a long say. And actually, what that did to many working people across this country was rob them of any hope that things could possibly get better, because against that, you had Boris Johnson and these big promises of levelling up that have come to absolutely nothing. So when we say we are going to implement the New Deal for working people, when we say we are going to get Britain building, you can absolutely rest assured that we mean it and that we're going to deliver it.
But Lisa, your kind of visceral hatred of everything that happened during the Corbyn era, and I think this is true of lots of people in the Labour leadership, means that you've looked at that manifesto, seen there was a lot in it, that is true, and just said anything that Corbynism has touched, we can't go near, which means that you have a manifesto that's basically empty.
That's just rubbish.
It's got effectively nothing in it.
I'll give you one example of that. Just last week, we announced that we're going to take our rail franchises back into national ownership as the contracts expire. We're not going to promise to buy them out because we don't think we should be using people's money to bail out shareholders. It's their money and they haven't got a lot of it. But what we are going to do is put our railways back in public hands for the public good. So I'm afraid that's just not true.
Aaron, I want your view on this one. What did you make of that row?
Lisa Nandy just comes across as so dislikable. And also, this weird thing right now, Michael, where particularly Labour politicians, centrist Labour politicians, they think that their job is to be pundits, not politicians. So you have a Labour politician who stood on the Labour Party manifesto in 2019. That is technically why people vote for the candidate, the party, because the manifesto. That's the basis, the platform on which Lisa Nandy was voted in as Wigan MP. You have the person who stood on that manifesto, knocked on doors to sell that manifesto, is condemning a journalist. I'll take no lessons from you. It's just so dislikable. And by the way, the reason why they behave like this, I've seen it firsthand, is they are not used to people to their left being in the same room as them. I've done BBC with Portillo and with Andrew Neil, and then I've had Liz Kendall, and I can absolutely tell you with absolute cast iron certainty, Liz Kendall hated me far more than the other two because she has not been in a studio many times where she's not the most left-wing person. And this, I think, was a really big moment of realization for me, is that for them, this isn't a political disagreement, Michael. It's an attack on their persona, their individual essence. But I'm the most virtuous left-wing person here. Does somebody else doing that? They must be evil. They must be awful. I must condemn them. So you can see that in Lisa Nandy's eyes. I mean, it looks actually, quite frankly, very strange. And when she said that, she got no applause. It went down like a lead balloon. And then she tweeted a clip of it afterwards. But anyway, so the condemnation I find very strange. And on the other hand, she's then saying, it was an awful manifesto. I won't take any lessons from you, but we're keeping this thing from that manifesto in regards to public ownership of rail, which, by the way, wasn't in the 2015 Labour manifesto. So she's tacitly admitting that there are aspects of the Corbyn agenda which have inflected the Labour Party. And she says, well, we won't waste money buying those franchises. We'll wait for them to elapse. That was the position Labour had in 2019. They were going to wait for the franchises to elapse. That's not new. What we see in that clip is just so much about contemporary sort of leading lights in the Labour Party and why you really probably shouldn't like them. Mendacity, lack of detail, just venom and anger for no particular reason. And look, I'm intrigued to see how that kind of personality politics plays when they're actually in power. They love to condemn other people. That's been the sort of MO for the Labour right and the Labour centre for a very long time. I am genuinely interested to see how they will condemn people when they themselves are the ones in charge. It's certainly going to be fascinating to watch.